Well, welcome everybody to our next session. There is a war on engagement going on out there. We've had a lot of statistics that we've been watching over the last really few years, but in the last year in particular, trying to get people's attention is a real challenge. We've seen changes in our ability to connect with customers. Many of us have gone virtual for most of the last year, but virtual or face-to-face, we've got to nail it when we have that precious time with our providers. So how do we engage HCPs in a more meaningful way? We're going to talk about some tools and some tech and a really cool company that's helping to create solutions in this space called Mobile Locker. So I want to introduce a familiar face to broadcast with me is Bob Lemke. Bob, how are you?
Hey, Frank. Good. How are you today?
Good to see you.
Great to see you. Thanks for having us, man.
It's good to have you here. So just because I want everyone to make sure that they know you, tell us a little bit about your background and what you're doing now.
Yeah, so my role here at Mobile Locker, I'm one of the partners here. And so my role here primarily is the sales and marketing side of the house. From a background perspective, 25 some years in the enterprise software space. I've worked from companies like Salesforce, two stints at Salesforce, to Oracle's, to IBM, to a handful of startups as well. So all over the spectrum. I've had sales leadership roles. I've carried the proverbial bag, and I've kind of weaved in and out throughout my entire career. So right now I'm super excited to lead the charge here at Mobile Locker.
Very, very cool. You said you've got a partner involved here. Who's that?
My partner is a gentleman by the name of Mark Stralka, who I
if you were only here.
Almost Frank. As if on cue.
Wow.
So Mark is my, what I like to call the brains of the operation. So I'll give you an opportunity to engage Mark here a little bit.
Well, Mark, it's great to have you on here. We want to learn a little bit more about you. You've got a really, really cool background going into starting this company. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's kind of a funny story. So I started my career after college in the early 2000s at Johnson & Johnson in IT. And at the time I worked at the Janssen division, and we had a team called Healthy Planet that had about 35 people building websites for all of the pharmaceutical companies at Johnson & Johnson. And a couple years in, 2007, my boss's boss, a guy named Tom Murata, asked me and another guy, TJ Stevens, he said, hey, we're doing a really good job here building websites for J&J, but we have all these agencies asking us if we could, if we were on the outside, they'd love to hire us to build websites like you guys are doing for other pharmaceutical companies. So that kind of got our mind spinning. And we said, well, why don't we leave J&J, start a company and build websites for J&J and other pharma companies. So we left and started a company called Kazam Interactive. And you always hear about the startup story of starting in a garage. Well, we actually started in a junk dealer's shed on the Delaware River Canal down in Lambertville, New Jersey. So it was just 3 of us when we started. And within a couple of years, we were growing pretty fast. And we were up to like 25 people when the iPad came out. And that's kind of when Mobile Locker started, because one of our clients said, hey, there's this new iPad thing. Can you build me an app that will let us push content to our sales reps on this new iPad so that we don't have to use the Flash or the old ways of doing it? So that's kind of how it started.
Well, that is really cool. It's always good to hear about innovations that are affecting the pharmaceutical industry that are grounded in being built kind of like for pharma and often, by pharma people. I do think that our industry has some certain manners and a lexicon to it. And so when we have organizations kind of come in and try to help us, but they don't speak our language, it's sometimes hard for us to realize what problem they're trying to get us to identify and focus on for a few seconds. So awesome story, Mark. That's fantastic. So so tell us, what is Mobile Locker? What do you guys do?
Sure. So at a high level, it's a platform for a sales and marketing organization at a pharmaceutical company to centralize all of their content that the sales team needs out in the field. So whether it's PDFs, videos, interactive visual aids, things like that, it goes all in one place once it's approved. And then we give the reps a super easy way to access it on their iPads, PCs, Outlook plugin, phones, wherever they are, whether they're working from home because of COVID, whether they're on the road. They have access to the content when they need it, when they're meeting with those physicians, and then they can easily share it with them as well.
That's very, very cool. So tell me a little bit more about the problem. We've mentioned that engagement has been a challenge for sure. As we've pushed to so many virtual, interactions, brand teams are always trying to come up with new marketing assets to hopefully translate that value proposition to others. So tell us a little bit more about the problem that the industry and some companies are facing right now.
Sure. Well, certainly with COVID, it was a challenge of access, right? Physical access to doctors' offices where you used to be able to get in and see them. And then when COVID happened, it was, okay, now we're remote. How do we still get that personal engagement between the rep who might have a relationship with that provider or with the office staff? How do we enable them to still provide value to those people individually, not coming from some corporate email address, sending out blast emails? That still has a place, but giving them a way to still be personal and intimate with those people that they've built up these relationships over many years. That's kind of the primary way that we've seen the challenge that being happening over the last year or so, is being able to give the reps a way to still be engaged even though they've been remote, and preferably using a tool that will work for both situations, right? So when they're working from home, they can still do it. And when they get back into the office, they'll be able to use the same tool. It's super easy for them to use, especially adapting, learning how to use Zoom. Early in COVID, I don't know how many times we had to kind of teach reps how to use Zoom or Teams or WebEx or GoToMeeting, and giving them something that works across the board was really valuable to them.
Well, I know the goal with any sales interaction has got to be, what can we do to reduce the friction and to become more compelling? I mean, if those forces, are at odds, it's hard to win. It's hard to stand out, since time, especially right now, is at a premium with our providers. So Bob, I know that you had some things you wanted to show us so we can kind of bring some of these ideas to life.
Yes. So, first of all, Frank, I want to say how much I really appreciate, Mark and I really appreciate the opportunity here. We don't really get an opportunity to just share our story, right? To talk a little bit about the background and the origin and kind of the problems that we solve. Typically, when we're talking to customers, we're going right into their problem, right? So just it's really cool for us to have the opportunity just to to tell our story a little bit. So we appreciate that opportunity. What can you see? Can you see my screen there? All I can see is my screen. So
no, you'll just have to click share screen, and then hopefully it'll come up.
All right, I think I did, but let's see.
We don't see it yet, but thank you for that comment, Bob. And I want you to know that we want to humanize this stuff. There's great people behind great technologies. So the opportunity to humanize this business is really important. Frankly, I can tell you from being a part of many companies, many brands, many initiatives, and tens of millions of dollars worth of budget, I really want to trust and believe in the partners that I have, because these brands are important. The stakes are really, really high. And can I count on folks to kind of come through? I think most of us can relate to finding partners out there that you don't really know. Everything sounds great in the capabilities presentation, but what's life like underway when we're all on the journey together? And so humanizing this is super, super important. So Bob, I've got your slides.
Awesome.
I'm going to bring those up. We can see you. We can see the slides. So let's tell us what we're looking at.
Terrific. So that's just a cover slide. So what I thought we would do today is do our level best to, number one, be super efficient. Talk a little bit about the history and origin. You guys touched on that a little bit already. I'm going to go through some information just on the challenges, right? We talked about what is going on out there. Why is this such a critical topic? Why is it super relevant? We're going to talk a little bit about that. And then we're going to talk about Mobile Locker's role in that process, right? And then we thought if time allows it, to give the audience an opportunity just to look at the platform really quick. So we'll make that super efficient, kind of a day in the life type of an opportunity, all right? So from an origin perspective, Mark already touched on it. I thought this was hilarious. When Mark talked about the garage that they started in, we thought it would be funny to show an actual picture of it, right? So this is actually where Mobile Locker started, which, by the way, we aren't there anymore, thankfully. But Mark, I don't know if there's anything else you want to share about this stuff. I know there's a funny story about the little Apple thing up there, but I don't know if there's more you want to share here, Mark.
No, I think on the next slide, though, everyone always asks about the name Mobile Locker. Where did it come from? You know, I didn't like it at first. Here's how it started. I went back through my email archive, and my partner, TJ Stevens, had emailed me and said, we were brainstorming names, and he sent that in an email. I said, good idea. I'll buy it on GoDaddy. You know, I bought the domain name. A couple days later, our business partner, Tom, was like, WTF is our app name again. He was getting ready for some presentation. And I was like, don't worry, it's temporary. 10 years later, we still haven't thought of a better name, but it's really kind of grown on us. And everyone we kind of we share it with now, they're like, oh, that makes sense. You know, it's like the locker they used to have for reps with the supplies and everything and the samples. And you know, so 10 years later, we still have the same name.
Very cool.
There you go. I do get it. It's funny because I get asked about the name all the time as well. So why is this important, right? So while I was preparing for this, Frank, it's funny. I went out. This idea of HCP engagement, right, and access is a very, very, very hot topic. So just for fun, I went out while I was preparing for this and just did random Google searches on HCP engagement, pharma HCP engagement, and literally was inundated. Like I started putting them all on a single slide, and it just got so busy and so big that it was overwhelming. But it's amazing to me. It was even surprising for me from a process perspective to go out and see just how much there is out there. White paper after white paper, you know, article after article, webinar after webinar, all about this challenge associated with HCP engagement, right? So people are absolutely talking about this, right? So I want to hone in on this one McKinsey article that I found that I thought was super compelling, right? So in the year between kind of like middle 2020 to now, they analyzed 86 new product launches. And in 50 of the 86, there were almost immediate lowering of expectations. In almost every single case, HCP access was cited, right? And the overall reason for that is simply that the HCPs have completely changed their expectations, right? They've completely changed their preferences around how they get their information, how they access. You hear this term multi-channel, omni-channel. Well, everyone's talking about that. There's just a constant buzz around multi-channel. And ultimately, the impact just on these launches that occurred is somewhere in the vicinity of $10 billion in net present value for these pharma companies. So that's just the launches. So take that, extrapolate that out across the board, and you can see why this idea of HCP access and engagement is so incredibly important, right? So it's access, right? Nobody's seeing reps. So we've seen kind of all of these statistics. No one's in. 27% of HCPs have actually seen reps, right? They're all saying they're getting their content digitally. So gone are the days that we're taking in lunches and doing all those types of things. Reps need to think differently. They need to think outside the box in terms of how to gain access using all the different channels available to them, right? Email. So our friends at DMD, big email company, they know everything there's to know about email. Open rates on emails began to skyrocket. And continually, we see that. HCPs are getting more and more of their information. The relationships are happening more and more on email, right? Read time, engagement time with the content is doubling, tripling. So different channels, as you can see, now being more relevant for these HCPs, right? Viva study that I uncovered talked about when you do get the attention of the HCP, right? So what happens once I do get their attention? Well, virtual meetings, interestingly enough, are resulting in significantly more time in that one-on-one meeting that you get with the HCP. So we went from like 3 minutes of face-to-face time to up to like 19 minutes. So what that ultimately means is that you have to be incredibly prepared. You have to have content that resonates, that's interactive, that they can share, talk to, and then leave behind, right? So there's a really compelling and important part about leaving this stuff behind to make sure that at the click of a button, that HCP has what you shared and that they have it as an asset that's left behind when you're not physically in the building, right? So you still with me? Everything good?
Everything's great.
So go back to the McKinsey study. So what they talked about very simply is how do we overcome this problem, right? What is the model that's optimal to overcome this problem? And in essence, what they talked about is enabling reps to not only give them the best content, to adjust the model. So give them ideal content that's personalized, give them the ability to adjust the model on the fly, pivot, right? So do one thing one day, another thing another day to engage the physicians where they are, and then back all of that up with analytics, right? What exactly is happening once I've shared the content that I've shared, right? What happens to it then? Give me eyes and ears inside that physician's office, that physician's home, whatever it is, and help me understand what they're doing with my content once I've shared it, right? So enter Mobile Locker. We don't talk about doing this. This is what we do. We do it every single day for our clients, right? This is why Mobile Locker's story is so compelling right now and why we are very, very relevant, we feel, in the marketplace. We allow reps to simply engage these physicians very, very quickly with that personalized content from a remote perspective, from a virtual perspective, and also even while they're in person. If they get in there with their iPad, they share, they're using Mobile Locker to share, and we're gonna see how that goes. And then we give them the ability to track. So once they leave, once that content is left behind, be it email, virtual sharing, whatever it might be, we give them those eyes and ears and that insights and analytics tied to what exactly is happening with that content after I left. And what does that give me? That gives me information to follow up. If I know exactly where in a specific piece of content that I left behind that the doctor seems keenly interested, that gives me the ability to follow up with more information on that very specific topic, that very specific study, whatever it might be. And what our clients are seeing is that they then have the ability to engage again and increase that intimacy. So I thought I'd just show a quick slide about some of our clients that are doing this literally every single day and some of the things that they have shared with us around their experience with Mobile Locker, right? You guys have built something really special. One of our Viva clients said that. Our top reps are also our top Mobile Locker users. So no coincidence there, right? The people using Mobile Locker the most are being the most successful in engaging. My experience has been brilliant. Love the collaboration and the optimal Salesforce build. The software is perfect for our new virtual environment. So these are the types of customers that we're working with every day. I didn't want to leave agencies out, right? So agencies are very important to us because agencies are the ones creating the content that goes into Mobile Locker, right? So we have found that by working with these agencies, we get in at the very front end around the people that are creating the content that ultimately ends up in Mobile Locker and ultimately ends up in the hands of the salespeople. So agencies, if there's anyone in an agency out there in the audience, please, pay attention because you represent for us and your customer a great value add opportunity with Mobile Locker. Okay. So what is it about Mobile Locker? What do we do differently? What do we do that Viva, CRM, Salesforce doesn't do, right? So I'm going to walk you through that a little bit. How do we solve these access, these engagement problems that we know are very relevant, right? First of all, you can use Mobile Locker on any platform, any device, any sharing system. So whether you're on a phone, any hardware platform, whatever it is. So some of the sharing platforms are unique to their own. Like Viva Engage is great. But if the HCP is uncomfortable with that, then it doesn't necessarily create the optimal experience. With Mobile Locker, you can move in and out of any platform, any device. Use it on your phone, use it on your iPad. There is an app that goes on any device that the rep is comfortable with. So what we allow, as Mark indicated earlier, is we just allow very, very simple access, sharing, and tracking of content from anywhere to anywhere that's possible, online, offline. Wherever you are, wherever the HCP is, they're going to get your content. So it can be in the Mobile Locker app, in a browser, not a browser, CRM, in CRM, not in CRM. We have Outlook plugin where you can just work inside your Outlook. Interestingly enough, and I know the CRM administrators out there won't love to hear this, but most reps don't love working inside CRM. They want to work in the platforms they're comfortable in, i.e. email. And what we allow is them the ability to work in their email platform and still share through the integrations the activity and everything that they're doing without necessarily having to be in CRM, right? So we allow them to send presentations, IVAs, whatever it is, and track and monitor what happened with those. Approved templates, all inside Mobile Locker. So you have your templates, you access the templates. So don't think like, our company doesn't allow reps to create their own emails, et cetera. We completely have the ability to pull in the templates, and you can send the emails right with the templates. And again, the real-time tracking. So you get instantaneous push information back to you about what's going on once you send the content, right? The other thing that's really important to the content creators out there is that we give you macro level insights. So a piece of content was shared 3,000 times. The majority of the people are consuming this specific part of it, this specific section of it. And what that allows the content creators is to really hone in on what's working, right? Any kind of form, signatures, you can pass back and forth in Mobile Locker. All of those types of things are in the system. So this is where we talked about the insights, provide analytics to the reps around what's happening, right? Back to the McKinsey report. So this is kind of what it looks like, click by click analysis of exactly what's happening. If it's a video, where exactly from a timing perspective they stopped watching, did they watch the whole thing? Where did they pause? All of those types of things. So no matter the format or what you're sending, the tracking and the insights are there for you, okay? Integrations. Again, I talked earlier about you don't have to work inside your CRM. These are just a handful of the integrations that we provide. So reps can literally be using Mobile Locker instantly, and a lot of these integrations are already built in. So imagine all of your activity logging, all of your, what you shared, specifically when you shared it with who. There's no double logging back and forth into CRM. When you do it in Mobile Locker, it's bi-directionally integrated. So all of that activity is logged into the CRM. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
Really quick, I know I kind of ran through that quick, but so quick summarization, right? Created for life sciences by life sciences. So we have tremendous domain expertise. It's pretty much all we do. Simplicity. We are literally up and running in days. We have a call after this actually with a client who's going to talk about getting Mobile Locker into the hands of their field by 1st of next week, right? Very, very simple to get up and running. Built-in integration. And by the way, this integration drives massive adoption of not only Mobile Locker, but of CRM, because CRM is fed with great data because the reps are working in the system that they're comfortable working in, but also feeding that data back to CRM. So it's a huge win-win, right? Huge adaptability. I talked about pivoting between channels, email, virtual, face-to-face. However the business is flowing, we give you the ability in that single platform to respond to the fluid nature of what's happening in the business, right? Hugely, hugely, hugely valuable for our clients, right? And again, everything we hear from our clients, the investment compared to the value is off the charts. So with that, and again, I know I ran through that pretty quick, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. I think Mark's got a quick demo, and when I flip here, if you have anything to say or any insights to provide, but we're just going to walk through really quick about loading the content, how to get access to it, how to share it virtually in a meeting, sharing it via email. We're going to show you a little bit about in the platform, the tracking, and then show you a little bit about the insights.
Sounds good.
Fair enough?
Sounds fair to me.
All right. Sorry, I know I ran through that pretty quick, but I want to give you guys a little time back in your Friday if I can too.
All good. Okay, Mark, I'm going to bring up your screen.
Okay.
All right, we can see it.
Great. So what I'd like to do is kind of show you two parts of the system, a day in the life of the administrators of how stuff gets into the system, and then how the rep will use it, whether they're on their iPad, their computer, Outlook, or in the field. So this is kind of the back-end system where typically the marketing team lives. You can load presentations. Presentations are a term for content. IVAs, PDFs, PowerPoints, YouTube videos. You can pull it in, you can import it. You can actually import it from Viva Vault. You can import it from other asset management systems like Brandfolder if you're using that. Everything gets in, it synchronizes the expiration dates, the MLR IDs, all the permissions stay up to date. So the teams that are supposed to have access to the content do. and people who are not supposed to have access to the content do not. So with that, that's kind of the back-end system, very easy to use. We typically train an administrator in 30 minutes how to use it, and then they load their content. And then think about the rep. The accounts get created in the system. They get an email that says, here's your account. Install the app on your iPad, your PC, however your company has you install those. And what I'm going to do is show you the iPad simulator here. So pretend I'm a rep out in the field. I've logged into my Mobile Locker app. I'm presented with immediate access to all the content in a very simple to find form. By default, it's in alphabetical order. So I can scroll through and see all the files that I have access to. If it's a PDF, for example, and I'm meeting with a client, the check mark means it'll work offline. So even if I'm offline, if I don't have Wi-Fi, the files that I've downloaded to my iPad inside a Mobile Locker will work there. Once I open the file, it's just like a normal PDF viewer as you'd expect. Certain files can be shared. So if I'm presenting a piece of content to a doctor and they say, hey, can you send me that file? Oops. I can quickly send them an email, and instead of sending an attachment, it's going to use one of the pre-approved email templates from the system that my administrator loaded, and they're going to get an email with a special trackable link. So I'm going to switch over to my email to show you what that would look like. So pretend this had been sent to this person, and it's got all the information. This would have a lot more legal disclaimers and whatever the brand needs. But when the doctor clicks this link, because it's a trackable link and not a file attachment, the system knows that they're viewing it. So when they view that file, it pulls up in a viewer like this, where it's branded with the company's branding. It's got the content there, and behind the scenes, it actually knows. It doesn't just know that you open the file, that they click the link. That's table stakes. Opens, clicks. This is actually tracking how long the physician spends looking at each page. So like Bob said, it's really important to know, gosh, did they spend time looking at that thing that we had just talked about, or did they not focus on that? So at the end of this session, the rep also gets an email that tells them that the notification that doctor opened it. They get an email that says, hey, this person opened it. They were approximately in this location. View insights. This is where the rep can then see on a page-by-page basis, what did that physician look at? Where did he spend the most time? Well, in this case, the physician spent the most time on page 3. There's something on page 3 that obviously got his attention. Maybe it was what we talked about. Maybe it was the thing that he had concerns about. But now I know when I go to follow up with that physician, I can follow up with them about that specific topic. Behind the scenes, because we can connect to Viva CRM, Salesforce, IQVIA, Dynamics, and about a dozen other CRMs, all this analytics and tracking data is also appearing on the physician's profile in CRM. So on Dr. Smith here, there'd be an event that says, Mark Stralk, sales rep Mark Stralk has sent this file to him, and then he clicked it at this time, and he viewed it for 7 minutes. So that's helpful for the CRM team and also for the marketing team to have that system of record to see, because Mobile Locker is just one of the channels. You're also sending out mass emails, maybe through Marketing Cloud or Marketo or something like that. You're having in-person calls. All Mobile Locker is feeding back into your system of record, so you have a complete picture of all the interactions with that physician. So that kind of gives you the day in the life of the rep from the iPad. But then they also, for some of our clients, what we especially saw during COVID was some of our clients were letting reps send one-to-one emails through Outlook, but they were doing it in a controlled, safe way. And that's where Mobile Locker has a plugin for Outlook. Just like there's an app store for an iPad, there's actually an app store for Microsoft Outlook now. And so we can plug right into that. So imagine I just had a call with a physician and we have a conversation. He says, hey, can you send me that information about that and also send me something else? So it's a little bit more than just send me one file. Well, I can pull up a pre-approved template, and maybe it's this one here. And he says, oh, send me something. I want you to send me something specific. Okay, send me this and this one. And you insert those links. Those are all 3 trackable links, and it works the same way. The value to the Outlook plugin is that, one, I probably already communicated with the doctor through email. So it's coming from my trusted email address, not some corporate email address or some info@company.com that's going to get blocked by spam. And 2, the replies come back to me. So as long as the company allows them, obviously a lot of our clients that are doing this have some guardrails around what they're allowed to say, and reps know how to follow those rules. But it gives them the flexibility to work with their reps like sales reps work in other industries with their clients, right? On a personal basis, it keeps them engaged. and it helps them when they get back in the office have a more intimate relationship with them as well. So that kind of covers kind of the day in the life of the rep. Like I said, reps get really used to this really quickly. We typically train them in a half-hour call. Maybe if it's a big team, we'll do a couple different Zoom calls. And, within a week, they're using it, and we have office hours for them for the first couple of weeks. And then we don't hear from them because they just get it. It's easy. And the home office loves it because of all the analytics and the ease of administration.
That is very, very cool. I want to build on that a little bit. Tell me more about the home office perspective, because that's a question. So from an analytical standpoint, how is this helping the brand team?
Sure. So, obviously you're able to see things like how many emails were sent, how many, emails were opened. That's kind of, like I said before, table stakes. But being able to see, okay, we spent all this money with our agency to develop this beautiful piece of content that might be 30 pages long. Does anybody go past page 7? Is anybody actually using the content that we spent all this effort on? And because you can see those page-by-page analytics over time, you'd say, okay, for the last 6 months, this file has been shared with 1,000 doctors. They've cumulatively spent X number of hours looking at it. Here's the pages that are getting the most content. What can we do with those parts of the content? How can we reimagine it to make it more impactful? Can we slice out those maybe a couple pieces of content and create a new piece of content that's more focused, or use it in a different channel, maybe put it on some other conference website or things like that? How can we make better use of our content without spending gobs and gobs of money? And that's the real analytics, is being able to prove the effectiveness of the content.
Yeah, so we've actually had clients that have shared that with us, Frank, that have actually said, right, hey, thank you. We were able to take a four-page PDF, convert it to a 2-page PDF based on the feedback we got from Mobile Locker, that nobody was spending any time on page 1 and page 4. All of the meat of the document was in 2, 3. So they took things that they thought was important from 1 and 4, put it into 2, 3. And you know what happened? That document, that piece of content became more consumable, right? Because it was shorter. It wasn't as overwhelming. So that's one. We do provide that macro level around the actual content. The other way I'll answer I want to add one more thing about around your question around the home office is sales leadership, right? So sales leadership also gets really good insight around best practice, right? So what's happening from a best practice perspective inside Mobile Locker, so we can see that these 10 reps are sending these specific pieces of content. Their patterns from a subscribing perspective are being impacted. It's very simple for the sales leadership to go into Mobile Locker and see those patterns, to recognize those patterns and share with the sales reps around, hey, these 5 people are being super effective based on sharing these specific pieces of content, this specific pattern. They're sending this on Monday, this on Wednesday, so they can analyze and look into those best practices and then share them across their team. We get the question all the time, oh, don't salespeople, don't they not like the big brother component of it? Well, it's really not a big brother component. It's what is the best practice that's allowing people to be successful, right? That's what we do.
That's great. I think that it cannot be taken for granted, the power and the impact on the customer experience as it relates to the tools and technology our field teams are using. If it feels high friction, if it's not comfortable, if it's not creating value, those tools and that tech is not creating for a great customer experience. And it's not really at the rep level. I think this is brand by brand, company by company. I have a lot of friends that are healthcare professionals. My wife is one. And I'll tell you what, not all experiences, company by company, are created equal. And they're starting to build real biases towards, when I'm on a virtual call with a rep from this particular company, I've got an idea it's going to feel like this. And I think it's changing access levels, especially in a permission-based environment where we're either going to say reps can come into my office and visit me, or I will accept the calendar hold to do that virtual call. We're going to have to nail it. We're going to have to, do better. And I think this is an example of how you're using technology to help drive and create a customer experience that delivers and delights. Very impressive.
And so, couldn't agree more. And thank you for that, because that's a huge point for us. We are doing it every day, right? So and the thing is, you talked about complexity and removing friction, right? The reason that we're so passionate around our solution, our platform, and the reason that our customers are so passionate is that very thing. It's not a 6-month deployment. Like sometimes we have customers that can't keep up with us. Like, they're like, we want to go faster. Like, like, guys, you're overthinking this. We just get Mobile Locker out there, get it in the hands of the reps, right? And when they do, they learn along the way, right? So we give them the ability to just go, right? Stop talking about it. Stop talking about engaging with HCPs. Stop talking about omni-channel engagement. Put Mobile Locker in and do it. And then learn. You learn on the fly. You learn what's working. You learn what doesn't. And that's the great thing about what we do and why we think we're so relevant, and so why we're so passionate about the solutions that we deliver.
So you talked about ease and for customer service for sure. So let me ask you guys, if I'm head of marketing, if I'm head of sales, what other stakeholders in my company do I need to have on board because this technology is going to impact them?
You want to take that, Mark, or you want?
Sure. So typically we do go in through marketing or sales directly. Someone will reach out and say, hey, here's the challenge we're having. We have a brand that's supposed to launch and COVID just happened. This happened last spring. One of our clients said, we were supposed to launch a product May 1st. Now all of a sudden we're remote. What do we do? And we said, well, here's what we can help you with. And it was within 30 days we had them up and running. So it's certainly sales and marketing is the primary entrance. IT gets involved, but because we're not installing anything on the, except on the iPad, typically it's a pretty easy process. We tick all the boxes. I used to work in information security at J&J, and we kind of know all the ins and outs of what we have to do from a technical level. So we get IT involved, but it's usually a very quick process. Regulatory gets involved, but because it's only approved content that goes in here, it's the stuff coming out of Vault. So it's already been approved. It's already ready for the field to use. It's just a matter of how are they disseminating it through the platform and through emails. The email templates are approved, so sometimes the agency gets involved because they're the ones writing the templates and loading content as well. But it's pretty typically sales, marketing, sales ops, and IT.
Outstanding. Well, guys, I want to ask you a couple closing questions here. And the first question that I've got for you is, if organizations think, well, hey, look, I've got all the bells and whistles with Viva, we've got the CRM that feels, soft and comfortable. Why should they start thinking about their situation differently that would make them say, I got to check out Mobile Locker?
That's a great question. I'm going to take a shot at it. Mark, you can chime in. But so for the record, and I think you know this, Frank, but for the audience's perspective, we work with, I would say most of our clients have some flavor of Viva. Most of our clients have some flavor of Salesforce or some combination thereof, right? So we don't necessarily say that we replace CRM or what. So we work very collaborative, very hand in hand with CRM, right? So we actually like to tell people that we optimize any investment they're making in CRM. And here's the thing, and I touched on it earlier, because typically when reps are doing their day-to-day, when they're doing their thing and they're doing their motion, they're in the groove, they want to be in the platform they're comfortable in, right? They want to be in that, and that's where we can deliver that massive value. So we don't necessarily want people to change what they're doing from a CRM perspective. We just want to kind of change a little bit of their workflow in order to make them more efficient. Does that make sense? Does that kind of answer the question? I don't know if Mark, you have anything to add on that, but.
Yeah, like Bob said, most of our clients have Vault from the review and approval process. Once it comes out of Vault, it can be fed into Mobile Locker either automatically or manually. Keeps it super easy for the administration of it. Expiration dates happen automatically. Things get pulled down if it gets a black box warning, things like that. And then the data feeds back into CRM from a data perspective. So everyone's kind of happy, and the reps just kind of get up and running very quickly. And so it's super easy for them. It's not a burden for them to learn a new technology, because it's, at this point, everybody's had iPads for 10 years. They know how to use an iPad. They're very comfortable with that. They know how to use Outlook if they're allowed to use that. And we make it very easy for them, very few clicks, all about ease of use. And we've been doing this for 10 years. So we've gotten a lot of input from reps and focusing on what's going to make the reps' life easier.
And here's what's great. Here's what's really great about what we do is that when you think about a rep, right, you think about, and just a real world anecdotal experience, right? When you say to the reps, we're adding a tool, we're adding something, The rep initially thinks, what does the rep think? Oh, great. Like, another problem, like another thing I have to learn, another thing for the home office to get in my grill with, right? And that's kind of the rep response. But then and we, by the way, that's typically what we see when we engage with the rep initially. And then the reps understand Mobile Locker. We show Mobile Locker and we see that they can do their thing the way they want to do it. And it gets people off their back, not on their back. And it gives them visibility into what they're doing right. And all the great things that Mobile Locker provides them, reps become our absolute best friends in these accounts. They love Mobile Locker. And if somebody raises their hand and says, you know what, we think there might be a better way to do what Mobile Locker does, the reps go crazy. So reps love us.
Well, hey, and you know what, the best reps that I know, the best reps I've ever worked with, I feel are incredibly surgical and intentional about how they're trying to get involved and build on the value proposition story. And with these analytics, I think it's going to be very clear for the best representatives to be able to say, hey, you know what? I know where to jump in. I know where to continue to really convince this particular person to go ahead and move forward. Because with all of the different initiatives that we have going on right now with HCPs, reps need to know like where they are in the message journey so I can really take them to the next level and ultimately serve more patients. I think what you're doing is great.
Appreciate
All right.
that.
So Mark, closing comments. And then Bob, I'm going to ask you, how do we get in touch with you guys?
Great.
Sure. So I just want to say thank you, Frank. This has been an honor to be with you on this presentation. And like I said, we love what we do. Love the story of growing this company and helping these companies and these brands and these reps especially engage in these difficult times. And we look forward to doing it again in the future.
Outstanding. Thank you. And Bob, how do we learn more?
So really easy access is Bob at Mobile Locker, Mark at Mobile Locker, either one of us. We make it as simple as possible. It's one of the things we do for a living. Like we try, everything we do is about removing friction. So Bob at Mobile Locker, Mark at Mobile Locker will get you right to us. Bob Lemke on LinkedIn, Mark Straka on LinkedIn. Our names are right there. Feel free to reach out. We do a ton of stuff on LinkedIn. We like to think we throw a bunch of content out there around engagement, a lot of value. Some of the stuff I shared earlier, we're happy. Like I'm always out there looking for articles and white papers and things like that to share around engagement. So please never hesitate to reach out. One of the things that we really pride ourselves on is responsiveness. That's what we hear from our clients all the time, is that no one is more responsive than us. And we really, really believe that. So it all comes back to that whole concept of being people and customers and partners first, which is what we wake up to do every day. So please never hesitate to reach out. I would put, I don't know that we need to put cell phone numbers up here, but if you get a hold of us on email or LinkedIn, we'll definitely reach back out to you quick.
Very, very cool. Well, guys, you know what? We're very supportive of connecting the people and ideas that are transforming the industry. And the fact that your technology is helping us break through the apathy and be more effective in telling these brand stories is going to help patients. And that is our North Star. So on that note, on behalf of Arsenal Nation, Mark, Bob, thank you so much. Can't wait to talk to you guys soon.
All right. Thanks again. And Frank, again, thank you so much for having us.
My pleasure. See you, everybody.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
Thanks.